What is going on, everybody? This is a bonus episode, a bonus segment from Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. This is my co-host who's usually here for the daily podcast. Introduce yourself, please.
This is the co-host, Mary.
How are you doing
Hi.
today?
I'm good.
What are we doing today?
We're reviewing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
And you got it correct there. You called it In the Multiverse of Madness. I kept calling it And the Multiverse
Not
of Madness.
of the multiverse, not
Yeah, no,
through the multiverse.
Yes. Doctor Strange and no, I was saying and the
And.
multiverse. Yeah, and the Multiverse of Madness. So basically what it is we went and saw this with a bunch of people, and I left the theater and it was like we read the reviews, right? And by the way, guys, I'm gonna go spoilers. I don't know how much of it's gonna be spoilers. It probably will be, but it's gonna be in here. So if you don't want it, this is more just a general discussion.
I don't even understand enough of the plot to spoil it for you guys. So.
Now, okay, so the thing is, with a movie like this, it's very clearly supposed to be reminiscent of like an acid trip because you're going from universe to universe, and it's supposed to be this kind of artistic, mind-bending type of imagery, which works in short bits. But to me, one of the problems with it is that something like this has a habit of it disorients you in the story and makes it hard to feel like narratively you have strong footing underneath you. Does that make sense to you?
You were saying maybe that was on purpose for the narrative,
to
feel disjointed, but then it's like it needs to make sense still. Like there needs to be some kind of chronological sense to the story. And in addition, like it's really not visually engaging because, or at least to me,
it's visually beautiful, but not necessarily engaging.
I didn't even think it was beautiful, honestly. But I just think like we're so overloaded with CGI now that it's just the most boring thing to look at.
To me, the least interesting type of CGI is this type of CGI, which is supposed to be
like here's a Cyclops octopus in the streets of New York. Whoa, that's so interesting to look at.
The best CGI is CGI that you don't notice, meaning that it's when they add segments to buildings and you don't realize that they've added turrets to something or things like that. The best CGI to me is the stuff that you don't notice, but that's obviously not what's desired or needed for a project like this. They need to do mind-bending alternate reality type stuff, and this is a Sam Raimi movie, so they definitely had you could call it horror, but it's like as horror as it
was very, very kid-friendly, in my opinion.
It's horror if Marvel did horror, which is not really horror, but there's a character at the end that he brings about that a version of Doctor Strange that's supposed to be reminiscent of the Evil Dead. There's elements of all sorts of different movies in here. By the way, so if you guys are Sam Raimi fans, there is in fact a Bruce Campbell cameo, and that is the highlight of the movie for me. But to me, if I'm going to make so your first impression of the movie is that narratively it was a mess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is because I didn't watch the original Doctor Strange that I would need that background to understand what's going on. But yeah, I couldn't tell you what happened.
See, to me, the number one way that they could have fixed this movie, if I'm looking at it from an artistic perspective, is just it didn't need to be a Doctor Strange movie. This really was Elizabeth Olsen's movie as Wanda Maximoff, and I kid you not, she gives in my opinion, nobody else seemed to really agree with me, she gives a fantastic performance of a character who is extremely overpowered and extremely unreasonable and doing awful things, but doing it for one of the most human and understandable reasons you could ever imagine, which is love of kids. They're just not actually her kids. So
they were real,
right? So those were the kids, as far as from what I understand of the movie. That was that version of Wanda. So guys, what happens is we're already, I'm getting off track here. We're going to be narratively all over the place. So the theme of the movie is basically Doctor Strange has to stop Wanda from getting a magical Deus Ex Machina so that she can control all of the multiverse, and that is where the America Chavez character comes in, because America Chavez in this film can jump between universes in the multiverse without.
That's her whole power.
That's her power, right? The actress who played America Chavez, I don't
annoying.
think.
Didn't like it.
The writing for her did her no favors, and she's just young and inexperienced. And I don't think she was able to really carry that role. I don't really think that's fault of her own. I think the writing was not there for her. Even Doctor Strange felt like he became sidelined in his own movie. He was constantly being put down by, or like joked on by people, and like. If they could have made the movie about anyone, it should have been about Wanda.
I didn't expect America Chavez to have as much screen time as she did. I thought that was going to be like a cameo. Or
nope.
Maybe she would be in like the first half and not really the second. Like, I did not think she was going to be throughout the whole film, and that I didn't want her to be.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. Like, Doctor Strange was kind of on the sidelines of the plot. It really should have been centered around
him.
Elizabeth Olsen's.
It should have been centered around Doctor Strange, but if we're not going to get that,
going by the title, yes, but like in reality, it should have been like purposed to center around Elizabeth Olsen.
And maybe this is just me, but I love her as an actress, so I'm partial. Maybe there's like my own bias for her works creeping in, but the
angle of her character was way more interesting.
So in the movie, she is both the Scarlet Witch, which is cold, very much is in the habit of justifying her actions. She's doing really awful things, but doing it for a very human and not noble, a very human and understandable reason, which is that she's grown attached to these two kids that she is basically, what do they call it, daywalking, dreamwalking, or
dreamwalking.
It was either dreamwalking or daywalking is a different thing, but dreamwalking. So she's living this life as Wanda Maximoff on another in another universe, raising these two boys. And Elizabeth Olsen in this role as the mother, it's beautiful.
It's very believable.
Very like there was like one part at the beginning where she's like tucking the boys in. You can tell that feels like idealistic, like it's not real, like like that type of thing doesn't. It feels like a Christmas card type of family element.
When she was like, remember, family is forever.
Yeah. And that's done to kind of eat away at the heartstrings, and it worked for me because she has such a warmth and such a caring aspect about her face. And then when she has to turn it on its side, there's a part later in the movie when she spends this whole movie trying to basically track down America Chavez so that she can take her powers, so that she can be one with this family, because she says that if those kids get sick, she can have access to the multiverse, and she would be able to get, there's an infinite number of cures for an infinite number of diseases.
Nothing can ever go wrong.
Yeah.
If she has this level of control.
And so she's growing more maniacal because what she wants it so badly, and it's just beautifully done by the actress, because then she has to go between the character of Wanda Maximoff alternate universe, where she's a loving, caring mother who wants to take care of these kids, and then the Scarlet Witch version, which is very much cold and desperate to accomplish this goal. And there's a great scene where she basically, they play it off as if she's the Terminator. And if that sounds ridiculous, it is, but it works. Like, she pulls it off in this role where she basically, and this is where you get your cameos. So major spoiler alert, you do get the Illuminati in here. So you get Black Bolt. I didn't check if I'm correct. I believe they got Anson Mount to portray that character again. If I remember correctly, that's the same actor who portrayed that character when he was on the show Inhumans. And then also they have Lashana Lynch as their version of Captain Marvel, which would have been and then who was the other one? There was Captain Carter, so Peggy Carter, played by I always forget.
Know all of these names better than me.
Yes. So basically, they have those in there, and then they do have Reed Richards, played by what's his name? John Krasinski.
Yes.
So I'm doing this off, like, they're literally their names are not listed here, so I have no reference pointer. They're probably trying to keep them off right here, Patrick Stewart at the end. And then you have Patrick Stewart playing Professor X. So they do this, and they have this whole thing where Wanda basically mows down all the members of this group on this alternate universe, and it's really, really, really well done. And I particularly had a great time watching Lashana Lynch's version of Captain Marvel, Monoch Rambeau, I believe.
Okay. I caught this in snippets because I was dozing off.
Yes. So if there's one, if there's something that she could give you as the ultimate sign that maybe this is not the best movie, it's that she was dozing off.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily saying it's the movie's fault. Maybe I'm just tired, but also like, it was boring. Like, that's my honest opinion.
A lot of it felt like it ran together,
yeah.
Running from exposition to exposition with crazy images in between.
When everything is supposed to be like the most visually spectacular thing you've ever seen, it all just looks like a big mush.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
By trying to make everything stand out, none of it stands out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that Benedict Cumberbatch plays the role very well. He didn't get the screen. It sounds crazy, but it really did feel like the screen time was dispersed very heavily. Like, there was large chunks of the movie where you didn't see him because it was telling Wanda's story. And for me, maybe that's why I like this movie more than the other people we saw it with, because I liked her storyline, so it didn't bother me as much. But if I went there looking to see a Doctor Strange movie where he's the main character, he doesn't feel like the main character in this movie.
Does she have more background in the first movie?
She's more just generally connected through the Marvel Universe, not from the first movie, but
okay.
She has stuff involving the multiverse from her show, from the WandaVision, which ended it was like a show that they did where they introduced a lot of these themes. So it would have helped you. You would have better understood that stuff.
Fatigues me with the Marvel stuff is like, you really have to buy into the whole thing to understand any piece of it. Like, none of it stands on its own.
Yeah, like something
successfully. Maybe they can try, but.
Yeah, like the goal is should be to make a good individual film that you can watch regardless of whether you've seen the other stuff or not. But if your goal is to make an interconnected universe, they're well past that ability now. They have to connect everything. So that's like, I feel like the cameos are going to become more and more common, because that does feel more like comic book lore, where characters will just dip in and out of issues. Whereas like back in the day, it was a lot harder to do that with movies because actors are bigger names than just drawing them on a paper. So getting people secured to reprise roles is not always the easiest thing. But Marvel, having cornered the market on that, a lot of people are willing to, move their schedule around to be able to work on their projects because they bring name recognition to them and everything. If there was one thing I think the movie could have done better, it would have been keeping Doctor Strange on screen more and making him feel more important to the story, because he just didn't.
There was also they were adding like the side plot of, his relationship with Christine.
Yes.
And then there was like no real like plot with that.
There was some
no
resolution.
Conclusion.
There was some resolution. The watch was the resolution. What was the visual resolution of it? Basically, at the beginning of the movie, he has the broken watch from his car wreck, and then they show how he got that watch in that universe. When they step on this device when they're in one of the alternate universes, and then at the end he repairs the watch, which I think is supposed to be symbolic of him either moving on or growing.
It felt like kind of just thrown in there. It felt a little random.
So if there was one thing I would have changed other than that, it would have been more, if they're going to keep putting these characters in there more. I love Benedict Wong as in the movie. He's like probably my favorite character from those. He plays Wong. His name's Benedict Wong, and he plays Wong. But he's if you guys never saw the show Marco Polo, which was a very underrated show on Netflix, it was like their first really big investment into into like their own stuff, and it was like the most expensive show they ever made, and it only got 2 seasons and kind of bombed. But I thought it was really, really good. It's about the Kublai Khan dynasty, like when he was in Marco Polo in that time period, and he's in that show, and he's very, very good. So there is an appearance from Chiwetel Ejiofor, which I always have a hard time pronouncing. So you get a lot of the same characters.
That's how you're supposed to say it?
I believe that's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong about that. So I just think that it was too crowded, and that the characters that I did liked, other than Wanda, didn't get as much screen time as I would have liked. But I also miss the days where the solo movies were about that person and not 15 to 20 other characters with cameos.
Just a big salad of stories that you can't really focus on.
But at the same time, people complain now about like retelling like origin stories, which is where you tend to get the main character the most because that's their how they come to be who they are. But as that character's story unfolds and grows, obviously that doesn't just happen on your own. That comes with the consequence of being involved with more people, which means the screen time will be more heavily dispersed. But it's a shame because Benedict Cumberbatch is a fantastic actor, and it felt like he was kind of sidelined in his own movie.
I agree, but also I am glad that they focused on Wanda because I find her more interesting as a character. And like the fact that her in different dimensions reflected kind of an internal conflict that can happen in a real person's life.
Yes.
And
like you said, that's a very like the desire to be a mother for children.
Shouldn't go unnoticed that her quest to like attain this control and power, this like limitless control over all of the her security and like circumstances is, I think, something people can relate to.
Yes.
And maybe like going too far to get that control. And like it should be noted, like there was no father of these children present.
I was wondering about that.
That is interesting.
That's
as a detail in that story.
Well, I don't know how it like again like I'm only tangentially like I have very like little interest in Marvel these days. I watched some of WandaVision. Her she's obviously the person she's most connected to was Vision, which is a character who I don't think unless I'm misremembering something, you can't really have kids with somebody that's not human, so I don't know if that's not possible.
Well, it's the MCU. I mean,
so it's what
possible.
Yeah, so like that he's not in there. So, but it's just it's a story about a mom wanting to protect her kids. So it's like, but to just make that movie, they could have just made that movie.
I agree.
Do you think it would be okay? So then here's the real question: is like I think I know the answer to this, but given the fact that you didn't really like it or you found it rather boring, do you think it's worth giving Doctor Strange a third film if it's helmed better and made more adeptly?
I'm not sure. I think I'd have to watch the original to see if that would be worth it if they could switch it to focus on him more.
Yeah,
like. I know people liked the original way better than this one.
The first one's kind of a weird example of one that didn't really, I mean, it did fine at the box office, but it's more fondly remembered now than I feel like it was when it came out.
Really?
Like,
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. And
I remember very little. That's the problem with most of these Marvel movies is they all run together. Right?
Yeah.
It's very homogenized. Like what I was thinking about it. There was like a scene where Wong is like trying to get back up this like mountain, right? Where Wanda is at the top at the peak. And I'm like, this is like a gorgeous shot of like this person trying to do this heroic act in these crazy conditions. I'm like, but it somehow feels so corporatized and homogenous and product driven that it had no, like, for as beautiful as the image was, there's no joy in my brain that connected with it.
The CGI is really getting me down. Yeah. Like, I don't like the vibe of that. It's sort of like if you've like been using the internet your whole life and you see like the anime art style at this point, it's just so bland that like you've seen it over and over and over. It's just boring.
There was moments where like maybe it's because it had the Danny Elfman score, and I like Danny Elfman as a composer when he's doing that scene. So I'm like, emotionally, the music is making me want to connect here.
The music was good.
Yeah,
that scene where they started like throwing music at each other was
pretty crazy,
very confusing.
Yeah, that's but
and not in a very like exciting way, like whoa, what's happening, and more like this is just like weird.
Yeah, but I mean I think that's what they were going for. They were going for weird in that context,
in like a very like tepid way, like this is weird.
Like I said,
like I'll just sip my drink now.
It's corporate weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's prepackaged Fortune 500 corporate weird. So if you're going to be an avant-garde director, doing so in the realm of a company that's made 25 movies that are kind of all somewhat similar is very difficult to do. So I think that's about as crazy as you're going to get from Marvel.
I just would always rather see a real shot.
Yep.
without editing that looks beautiful.
Yep. So that's maybe that could be. I might be overthinking it. Like that shot of Wong going, trying to rappel back up the mountain. Maybe if that wasn't like an entirely CGI built scene and it was on a real mountain and they just CGI'd him rather than CGI'd the mountain. Maybe I would have that connection that I was looking to get would have been there, but it wasn't. At the very
least, like a real shot that's edited, but you are not supposed to notice that it's edited. I mean, you can make it as realistic as possible, but there's nothing that can trick the human brain. You can see that.
Yep. I do think that as far as the CGI that was meant to look like the real world and not the stuff that's supposed to be the mind-bending stuff, it was mostly good. There was some shots in the first one with the giant Cyclops octopus that had there was some rough points there, but throughout the rest of the movie, I felt that the CGI looked up to par. But in general, to me, it's just bland. Like it's crazy wild. It's like they went for crazy wild and unique and just gave me corporate bland.
I agree, and I would not recommend watching this. Like,
or wait,
if I weren't watching this in order to talk about it and opine on it, I wouldn't have watched it. And honestly, if there's a third one, I wouldn't be like excited to go see it.
One thing about Marvel is that if they do enough work where Doctor Strange appears in subsequent in other projects between now and then, that could rebuild the excitement for a third movie if he has an important role in somebody else's show. I don't know if they'll do that.
It's also tiresome.
Yes, it's like I said, it feels very corporate and manufactured, and I'm kind of like over it in a lot of ways.
Like, here's the next thing. Here's your next bowl of slop.
Yeah, basically, you'll eat what we feed you, and you'll like it. That's what it feels like.
Give me something better, please.
So I don't know if it's a not recommend from Mary. It seems like no.
Yeah.
I say if you like Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, this may work for you. If you go to it with the idea of like looking for her story of like a woman who's desperate to be a mother and doing kind of awful things and becoming someone she doesn't even understand or know anymore in the name of motherhood, which I think is a fascinating concept. That might make it worth your time. But if you're there to see Doctor Strange, I don't really know if this is necessarily a big recommend from me. So
also, I don't know if this is to its credit really, but as far as like woke messaging, it's really not that bad.
No, there was the only one that stuck out to me was the weird comment about how on other Earths.
Yeah, in most universes, you don't have to pay for food. It's super weird that you do.
I was like, okay, commies, like whatever. Like I was like,
she's just eating like this slop, like pizza
sphere. Bite. Which is funny because that led into the Bruce Campbell cameo, and I was all about the Bruce Campbell cameo. But other than that, the scene that they didn't cut out for China, I mean, like I said, good on Marvel if they wanna lose out on the box office.
You know
because
how I feel about
I know how Mary feels about it. I argued with people about this. It didn't bother me. I think that the actress was done more of a disservice from having bad dialogue in her exchanges with Doctor Strange than any of the things that people complain about being so-called woke in that. So there was some other...
I just didn't find her character compelling.
Yeah, so like I wanted to go into it and be like, look at how good Xochitl Gomez was as America Chavez, and I just couldn't say in good conscience that that's what I felt about the performance.
Also, I mean, I don't know if this is important to anybody else, but I didn't like her outfit.
What was it about it you didn't like?
The fact that it never changed throughout the whole movie.
Well, I think it's supposed to. Nobody did. It's all supposed to happen over a very short period of time.
Well, at least Wanda had like her look change a little bit.
Well, because those are two different Wandas. You have Wanda with the cape and her red outfit. That's her as the Scarlet Witch, and then you have...
right. People had like different outfits in different dimensions, but because America Chavez is not in any of the dimensions. Yes.
So actually that's probably visually done on purpose.
Is she human?
I don't know if they explained that.
I don't think.
But I'm saying that the fact that she didn't change outfits was actually visually done on purpose to be as a way of understanding that she can take you from universe to universe rather than being in a different one where everybody looks different because they're just slightly different from there to there.
But even despite that, you're just wearing like black skinny jeans, like just a girl at the mall. Like, I don't know. Well, I find that boring.
She definitely had like I'm hanging out at the mall on Saturday vibes.
Yeah.
That's okay. Hey, man. So yeah, I guess it's a mild recommend for me if you like Elizabeth Olsen, as I do as an actress. It is a not recommend from.
That's a solid thumbs down.
That's from Mary. So I guess that's what
movies are on a binary, not a 0 to 10 scale.
Yes,
it's 0 or a 1, this one was a 0.
Ouch. Well, I'm gonna I'm non-binary in this case, and I'm gonna give it like a 6.134.
That's generous.
Yes, because of Elizabeth Olsen. That's the only reason.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Mary, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at CloserKitty, and on there I promote any articles I post on the Timcast website.
And I think we're also going to be seeing Top Gun Maverick soon, and hopefully we'll also be seeing Jurassic World Dominion.
Yes.
So we will. There will be more reviews. I have a feeling that actually both of those movies will probably get a higher review from us than Doctor Strange.
I can't help but find Tom Cruise charming in that role.
There you go. It's
just the one thing that works for him.
It's very Americana.
Yes.
It's very Americana. All right, guys, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic for the show right here on YouTube. Please go ahead and like the video, leave comments on the video, whether you agree with us, whether you disagree with us. That is all fine and good. That's the beauty of art to me. It's subjective. If you love it, that's a beautiful thing. And I just want to let you guys know ahead of time, since I can start making this announcement, that starting in 2 weeks, basically on the 16th of May, on a Monday, we are going to be taking Pop Culture Crisis live every day, Monday through Friday, from 3 p.m. till 4:30 or 5, whenever the show finishes. So please go ahead and get ready to check us out there. We're really excited about doing that. That's going to be a lot of fun. If you like the podcast in audio format, we do still put it up on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, all those sites. On social media, you can find us on Twitter at popculture_show. There's an Instagram page that's at Pop Culture Crisis Pod, and then we're on Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis. We will be back with another episode tomorrow, and also more movie reviews coming soon. We will talk to you soon, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.